Okay, so now in this video we're going to look at assigning resources. So we're continuing on from the previous video we were working on, where I think the last thing we did was add durations, milestones, we put the sequences in. So now we're going to assign resources. So in Project you can create resources at the start of the project, or you can actually put them in whenever you realize you need them. So the resource sheet is the best way to view these resources. So if we click on the View tab up the top here, and then in the Resource Views section, we're going to click on Resource Sheet. So we're going to click that, and this brings up this blank page here. So this will display a table related to the project resources. Obviously at the moment we haven't actually put in any other resources, so it's blank, but we're going to start putting in a few different things now, and it'll make a bit more sense as we go along. So these are the resources you assign like by time, like people or equipment. So to name them, you can fill in a person's name, or you can use a generic skill. So in this example we're just going to use skills. So in the first tab, I'm going to click in here, so where the resource name is, and we're going to type in diagnostic lead physician. Lead physician. And do I want to save? Yes. It's asked me to do that. So if it asks you to save it, it's always click yes. So just hit tab, and that'll actually bring me to the next. Once I've typed it in, I just press the tab key, and that brings me into the next one. So you'll see here, we're going to go around. Yes, so the type of resource is actually a work resource. If you click in here, there's lots of different ones. There's cost, material, and work. But where diagnostic lead physician is going to be a work, so we can leave it as it is. And the next thing we need to go along to is the standard rate. So, this is adding the cost. So the standard rate for a lead physician, and for this example, is going to be 200. I noticed that I have mine set to dollars. Well, I think I should have actually have it set to euros. I think we would have done that in the previous video, but obviously forgot to do it with this project, but it's okay. Hopefully yours is in euros. If it's not, don't worry about it. For the next projects, we'll make sure it is. So once you typed in the 200, just again hit enter. So we're going to add in another resource down here. Just click. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to click into this cell here and type in construction. And press tab. That'll bring up the type. And again, this is going to be a work type resource. And then the cost of this is going to be 400. And just hit enter. And so this is an example of actually putting in skills. So you could also, if you're going to want to be very detailed, you could actually put in people's names. So if you knew the name of some of the people working on your project, you could put them in. If you're going to do that, you'll make sure you always put them in. You put the format in as last name then first name, because this makes things easier to follow. Just in case you have like 20 Brians, or like when I was in school you had 6 Davids in class. So always go with the last name first, followed by the first name. So we'll just do a quick example. So for example, we can add another resource using your name. So I'll just use my name since we're here, but you can type in your own name, Thompson David. Press tab. Again, I'm going to be a work resource in this case. So for work resources, the availability is defined by 2 fields, the max units and the calendar. So you can see if you go along here, this is max units, and the calendar is going to be the standard calendar we're going to be using. So max units represents the percentage of time the resources is available to the project. So this project automatically fills in 100%. So you can see I'm extremely dedicated to this project here as a resource. And the calendar is in the base column, and this is standard calendar. So this means I'm going to be working at the standard hours that we set out in the previous video. So it would have been I think it was 9 to 12, and then 1 to 5. And we set our days and the holidays and all that type of thing. So if you put in an individual person resource, then you can make sure you get it all costed up, and then you get the working on days which you set earlier on. So we don't have actually any cost for this one, so it's just an example. So we can just click out of that one. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to add a material resource. So again, we'll click into the next cell here. We're going to type in cable. Again, this is a resource that's going to be used for this project. Press tab, and in this case it's not work, it's actually going to be a material cost. So we click down M for material. And then press tab again, and you're going to be brought to the materials tab label field. That's fair enough, yeah. So this is a reminder of what the units of measure it is. So in this cell, type each. So I'll just press tab again. So again, just in here, just type the word each. So that means each cable. So we actually then, we're going to set the standard rate. And we're going to go to, so tab it over to standard rate and I'll type in 80. So there we go. So basically each cable is going to be 80. Should be euro, but in this case it's dollars. And then use the resourcing information, add the remaining resource to your project. So if you go down to that, there should be a Word document on Brightspace. So I'll just bring it on screen here, close that down. So here, these are the resources. This Word document is on Brightspace. So we just want to actually put in all this information. So again, it's a few more work type resources, few more material, another material, and then 2 cost resources. So pause the video now and actually insert these into the project in the resource tab, and then we'll meet back here once you're done. So I'm going to type them in myself, and pause the video and we'll see you in a minute or two. So if you want to line them up as they are on that Word document, you'll see that all the work resources are there yourself. So what you can do is you can just click into cell 4. So if I right click in here and click on insert resource, that'll actually put it in above the material resource, so we can keep all the work ones together. And then you can finish off the work resources, then do the second material resource and the cost resources, and it should look like it is in the Word document. Okay, so now I've added in the rest of those resources. I've also turned my currency back into euro because it was annoying me looking at the dollar sign, because I think I should have done it earlier on. So hopefully yours looks something like this. So the next thing to do, once we've actually defined our resources, what I want to do is actually assign those resources to tasks. So we've set up the tasks in previous videos, so now we actually want to put these resources into it, so it'll just give a much better comprehensive picture of actually how the project's going to be running, and then we can cost it much more. So to do this, we're going to click on we're still in the View tab, so if we click over here to where it says Gantt chart, so there's two parts of it. So if you click on the actual graphic with the Gantt chart, it'll bring us back to the previous screen with the Gantt chart and the tasks and summary tasks and all that. So for simple assignments, you can add a resources in name. For simple assignments, you can add resource names in the resource name column. So if you look over here, so if you just grab the bar between the list of tasks and the actual Gantt chart, if you just click on that and just drag it across to make a bit more space, you'll see there's resources name, and we can add a new column there if we want, but we don't need anything there, so we can just fill it out. So as long as we can see resource name here, that's what we want to do. So again, as I was saying, so we're going to start with task 2. So this is in the inspection summary task. We're going to go down to task 2, which is the review design. So as part of this project, the review design, that's going to be assigned to the diagnostic lead physician. So start with task 2, we're going to click in the resource name cell, and you'll see the little box here, little grey box with drop down arrows. So I'm going to click on that and see the list of all the resources which we put in on the previous sheet are showing up here. So we want to find the diagnostic lead physician, which is this one here. And then we also want to actually assign construction to this task as well. So click that and then just hit enter on the keyboard. And then you'll see actually on the Gantt chart over here that both these resources have actually now been assigned to the review design. So obviously, if you think about it logically, to review design, you want the lead physician who's going to be using it and using that facilities when it's open working, and you want the construction people in there because they're going to be building it. So the two of them will work together to make sure that the design is exactly what it's supposed to be. So for assign, we're going to do task 3 next. So we're going to assign hospital procurement and press enter. So again, same thing, just click in the next cell down, drop down menu, click on hospital procurement, press enter. And then for receiving equipment, we're going to click in here, drop down menu, and we're going to click on logistics. So another way to assign tasks is to use the task form. So if you go into the View tab, which we're probably on already, and then along the side here, we'll go to the Split View section, and then there's little 2 boxes here for details and timeline. I want you to click the details box. Then you can see the task form now can be seen at the bottom half of the screen. So here we can adjust assignments or use partial units or specify work hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to select task 6, so you can click it here or click into the cell, whichever you want to do. And you'll see that information now is going to be shown here on the task form. So the information for that task appears in the task form, and now we can assign the resources to that task. So in the task form box, Click into the first resource name, and from that we're going to select diagnostic lead physician. So again, just click here along the top, click down here and select diagnostic lead physician. There we go. And then what else we want to do? We also want to assign the MRI vendor to this task. So we can click into the next section on here, click down here and click MRI vendor. Once you've assigned a task in this manner, you have to then go up here and click OK. And then you see the project automatically then assigns the two resources to the task here. So it's just another way to do it. You can use the drop-down menus here, or you can use a task form. So it depends on what information you do. This you can do a bit more information. You can input a bit more customizable resources in here, or you can use the drop-down menu. So again, we'll be using a bit of both later on. So obviously project assigns both these resources to 100%, but we can also see the work hours, which are set to 8 hours as well. So you'll see 8 hours here and units are 100%. So that's just the default units. So again, we can adjust them if we need to. So next we're going to go to task 7 in the Gantt chart. So in this task form, we're going to assign construction and cable to the task. So again, once you've clicked on here, you'll see the task form goes empty because there's nothing assigned to it. So click in here, drop down menu, and what did I say? We're going to click construction. And the next one down, we're going to click cable. So to specify the quantity of the cables, because remember cable is actually material resources, so we can't just say this is cable. You have to actually specify how many cables we're actually going to be using in this task. So we're going to go to the units field. So if you click on the next one over here, and we're going to type in 5, then just hit enter. And now we can see that the project assigns 100% of the work resource and 5 to each of the material resources. So we can click OK. And there it is, sorry, there it is, as we do. So once I've clicked OK, that's when actually it assigns 100% of the construction with 8 hours a day, and now it's assigning 5 of the cables, so 5 each. So that's how we input those. So finally we're going to add a resource to this task. So sorry, we're going to add a cost resource to this task. So click in the next one down, drop down menu, and we're going to find, which one was it, sorry, let's check my notes. So we're going to add a permit. So again, this is just kind of some of the legal stuff that we have to do in a project. So click on permit. So as this is a cost resource, we now have to add the actual cost. Just putting it in there is not going to be any difference because it's going to have no value. So we're going to right click on the task form table and select cost. So that's basically just hover the mouse over the task form table, right click on the mouse, and you see a little drop down menu shows up. We're going to click on the word cost, and then now in the cost field we're going to put in a permit of €1,000 and click OK. So just click in here, type in 1,000, click OK, and you see that updates to everything there. And I don't know if you've noticed here, like we saw that the cables are going to be 5 each, and earlier on when you actually put in the cost of the cable was going to, I think it was, just check my notes, I think it was about 80 for a cable or something like that. So yeah it is, yeah. So then because project knows the cost of one individual cable, when we put in 5, then it can actually work out the total cost is going to be 5 by 8, so it's obviously going to be 400. And then the same with construction, we knew the construction is going to be 100%. It knows how long construction is going to be lasting here up on the Gantt chart, so then it's able to work out the cost, work out the total cost, which is here, and then we can then add them up later on. But we'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, so this project automatically calculates the cost for the work and material resources based on the standard rates which were applied earlier. So now we can assign more resources using the information sheet on Brightspace. So I'll just bring it up here. So on Brightspace is actually a Word document called assign. So this is actually where we're going to assign the resources. So I'll just bring it in here. So here we are. So again, this is all the different resources that all the different tasks going to have. So we see review design, diagnostic lead physician, blah blah blah. So what you want to do is just what we did there. You can use the drop down menu just for this moment because we're not going to be adding in any of the extra details. So you can use the drop down menu, or you can use the other one, but the drop down menu is probably the quickest way to do it. Just add in all these different resources onto the project, and then we'll meet back here in a few minutes and we'll work on to the next section. Okay. And again, if you want to assign the resources using the task menu, you can do it down here, or you can go, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, well not the old-fashioned way, but the simpler way, let's say, if you kind of go up to your view tab to split review and untick the details box, It'll work for me. There we go. That'll actually just bring it back to the task. So then you can just click into the drop down menu here and then just pick the resource as you go along. This might be the easier way to do it. So maybe just for today's project, we can actually just do it this way. Okay, so you can pause the video and then once you're done, press play and we'll continue on. Okay, so I'm just continuing on. So now I've actually added all the different resources. Hopefully yours looks the same. Again, you can look in the Gantt chart, you can see all the resources are actually added to our bar chart, which kind of started to make it a lot more detailed and a bit more useful information being presented. So the next thing we're going to do is going to resolve resource over allocation. So to keep a schedule running efficiently and realistically, you need to keep your team busy without assigning them too many simultaneous tasks. So this is where we find and resolve over allocation of resources. So in the View tab, I'm going to back up here in the Split View. We're going to turn off the details box, which I had off already. So if you haven't done that yet, just make sure you do. So next, change on the project setting. So next we're going to click on the project settings. So we're going to click on the Resources tab. We're currently in the View tab, so we're going to go over to the Resources tab. So give the Resource tab a click. And then you'll see in the Level section, so along the bottom here on the right hand side, it's more or less the center of the screen, there's a Level section. Click the Leveling options. So up the top here, we have Leveling options. So we click this and a dialog box should open, so this one here. So by default, the project is set to look at over allocations on a week by week basis. So, no, is it? Oh, on a day by day basis, mine is actually here, so that's good. Usually it must have saved my settings. If yours is set to week by week, then you just change it like what I'm going to do here. So because it's better, a week by week isn't that good for this project because it's actually quite a short project. If you're doing like something like the National Children's Hospital, it's going to take a couple of years. Well, it's Irish Children's Hospital, take a decade, you never know. But if it's going to be a long project, you level it over resourcing on a larger time scale. But for a smaller project, it's best to change it to a shorter one. So I'm going to set this one to day by day. So if yours isn't set to day by day, just click here, drop down menu, and make sure you select day by day. And once you've done that, there's a few different options here, but don't worry about the rest for the moment. Just click OK. So one thing we know now is how this is shown is that little red people icon then show up. So this tells us that resource is actually over allocated. So in this case, task 7, 8, 11, 12, and 15 are coming up as over allocated. So to see how these resources are over allocated, we can change the view of the project. So what you want to do is go to the View tab, click on the Resource Views section, and then click on Resource Usage. So this one here, let's give that a little click. So this shows the resources and the tasks assigned to them. So we're just going to make it a little bit bigger. So no, that's actually, we have a little bit here. I'll just spread it out a little bit so we can see everything a bit clearer. And then drag this one across just so we can see things. So we're going to filter this view to show the over allocation of resources. So in the Data section tab, so we're in the Data section, where we're going to go. So here's Data section. And we're going to click on the filter icon, which is this one here, obviously says filter. So, and here little drop down menu, it says the filter icons. This is actually where the control is. So currently by default it's set to no filter. So we're going to set it to over allocated resource filter. So we click the drop down menu and see over allocated resources. So just give that a click. So now we can see that the construction and logistics are over allocated. So we're going to double click on the black triangle to see the task assigned to these resources. So this little black triangle there. No, I should do it anyway. 1 second now. So just double click on the triangle again. There we go. I might have pressed once or twice, but okay, there we are. So hopefully you've got exactly what I'm seeing here. So sorry, just go back to my notes. Where was I? Okay, so yeah, so if a resource is over allocated, the resource appears in red text. So the construction task has 2 tasks going on the same day, and this is resulting in an over allocation. It's the same thing as happening with logistics. So now we know that now we know where the over allocations are. We can go back to the Gantt chart and click the Gantt chart by clicking on the Gantt chart button. We'll resolve them. So we're going to click on the Gantt chart here. Click the icon up here. That'll bring us back to where we should be, to overview the project. So we're going to start with task 7. So you can again hear where the little red icon is. So you can just click into the 7 row here. Actually, start with task 7 and 8. Actually, we can do the both, so we can actually select them both. So just click into two of them and drag the mouse up so the two of them are highlighted. So we're going to go to the resource table and tell the project to level these tasks. So we're going to go. So to do this, we're going to click on the resource tab up here. We're going to go into the level section and we're going to click on the icon for level selection. There we go. Level selection. So just give that a click. There we go. Took me a minute, my mouse wasn't reacting there. So yeah, you see now once I've actually clicked that one, the over allocation little red icons are gone. So we can then see on the timescale that project has pushed the update power task so that occurs after the inspection radiation barriers, and then the red people icon have also disappeared. So just by using this little icon, keeping out for the little red icon, little red people icon, and then seeing where it is, and then going to that task and clicking the level section, project will actually do the donkey work for you and actually just make sure nothing is over allocated. So another way to fix over allocation is if you have another resource, is that if you can replace the over allocated resource with another one. So we'll do that next. So in the replace desk row, we can go to the resource name field where it says logistics. So we're going to go now, where's it gone? It was the replace desk. Here we go. So it's going to be 15, task 15, yep. So we're going to go to the resource name field where it says logistics. So click in here, click the drop down menu and turn off logistics. So we can turn that off, and then we can actually use that then to construction. So we can set the construction workers to actually do that job. And hit enter. And now we see then actually that the logistics is now not over resourced. And you can see that's actually had a knock-on effect and gotten rid of the previous one. So let's press C just to show you there. So you can see that in these two cases here, there's a few different ones. So in task 11, we'll see the lead diagnostic physician and construction logistics are there. And then the task 12 was logistics, had a resource logistics, and so the task 15. So obviously the problem here is that there's actually too many logistics being used. So by replacing this, by turning off logistics and assigning to construction, that basically has taken the pressure off, which means now the tasks are not over allocated. So it's good practice to remind yourself that you have to make changes like this. So we're going to add a little note to the task. So right click on the task. So here we go. So we'll just click on this one here. So right click on the task and click notes. And this little notepad should show up. So what we're going to type in here is going to replace logistics with construction to remove over allocations of equipment task. So I'm just copying this. I've got it written down already in my notes. So I'm just going to, for speeding things up, we'll just keep our grammar correctly. So replace logistics with construction to remove over allocations of moving equipment task. So again, this is if someone goes into it and they thought logistics was going to be there, now they see the construction is going to be there, they can actually click into the little note and see, okay, that's why things moved around, because there was an over allocation. So again, it does make things a lot clearer so people can keep up to date and follow along with what the changes are being made in the project as you go through it. So click OK once you're done. And that's a quick run through of how we actually assign resources. So hopefully you follow that one okay. So have a look at my screen. Hopefully it looks more or less the same as what I have here. If it doesn't, maybe just go back and see what you've messed out. You can see actually just that note comes up a little icon here. It's a little information icon, so you can hover over that. You can see the note we put in, and then we have no over allocation icons here, and all the actual resources are now showing up in the Gantt chart. So we're starting to have a nice looking project showing up here. So the next video we're going to be looking at communicating our project. So again, just make sure this one here has actually worked out so far. Always remember at this stage just to give it a save. So click on the save button because you don't have to do all this again. Click on save and I will see you in the next video. Okay.